Welcome back to Fantasy Football RPG, your go-to source for all things fantasy football. Join us for expert analysis, top strategies, and the latest insights to help you dominate your league. Let's level up your game and dive into the nitty-gritty. Without further ado, let's get the action.
Welcome back to episode 111 of the Fantasy Football RPG podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Mike Cash, and I'm joined by Evan, the sleepiest boy alive. Evan, how are you?
Always sleepy around here, Mike. What can I say?
Yeah, it's been a heck of a week. Woke up at 4 yesterday in all of its glory, and then stayed up watching the Steelers game like an idiot before going to work this morning. So I am fine. Everything's fine.
It's great. Life's great.
Yeah. Just like Patrick Mahomes' fantasy value. I'm fine.
Oh, boy.
Man. All right. Listen, you put a fun little question in here. Well, let's go back to our little jovial cold opens. What is your favorite burger topic?
All right. We're going to go a little bit off the wall here. And my personal favorite is a nice fried egg.
Ooh, that's a good, like the Royal Red Robin at Red Robin.
Right? Yeah. Or we used to have out on the beach when I was in California, we used to have this burger called the Heart Attack Burger. It was a full avocado smashed on 2 half-pound patties, a 1/4 pound of bacon, and a fried egg.
So the diet's going well.
Oh, yeah. You know, you can only see this part of me, so.
Yeah. 6-pack, chest down. You wouldn't even know it. The quads are enormous. You look like Saquon Barkley from the waist down.
Hey, they say a keg's more fun than a 6-pack, you know?
Man. I would probably go with, I mean, a fried egg's a good, I was going to go with bacon. Like, I just think it just adds a lot to, but also like, dude, cheese. It's simple. It elevates the burger. Some good cheese can make all of the difference in the world. But, you know, it's going to make all the difference in the world to your fantasy teams.
And now it's time for news and notes.
All right, there were some guys that got sick. They signed autographs. We're not going to talk about that, but we're going to talk about the ones that extended out that you care about for your fantasy team. So Stephon Diggs, torn ACL, out for the year, no contract next year. Evan, obviously redraft droppable, but dynasty leagues, how are you valuing Stephon Diggs right now?
I'm not happy if I have him, that's for sure. Typically, if you have him, you're a win now type of team.
Yep.
So with that said, I mean, what can you even get for Diggs anymore?
I know.
Like a win now team, like a spot start running back?
Maybe.
Yeah.
The history of 30-something-year-old guys getting hurt with no contract. It's not great. Like Odell Beckham. Didn't go great. He's the only one in recent memory that I can remember, but there's not a great precedent for guys having this happen. So like, I wish him the best of luck in his recovery. I really hope that this goes well for him, but dude, he's a sunk asset. You're holding on to him and hoping he returns to form. Maybe you get a sell window when he starts coming back, but Christian Kirk, real bummer. We thought he was going to get traded and go somewhere and get a little bit of a fantasy boost. Broken collarbone. So, he's out for the year. If you have him, probably a hold because he already has like a stinky taste in his mouth for dynasty managers, but you're not getting anything worth moving off of him, and the name value doesn't hold anything. Brian Thomas Jr., we were worried he might have like cracked his ribs catching the ball, which sounds not ideal. Turns out mostly fine day to day. See how he recovers. Patrick Mahomes' ankle, perpetually has an ankle injury. He's fine. Drake May, concussion, played. Jordan Mason. I would love to talk to the Jordan Mason truthers out there. Isaac Guerrero looks very similar to Jordan Mason in the backfield. And Jordan Mason was a handcuff waiting for Christian McCaffrey to return, who is set to return after the bye week. So any sell window is closed. Any competing window is closed. You are now just holding on to him and praying. Do you think he has any value next year? Like, he's a free agent. I think he's a restricted free agent, but you think the UDFA turns into a big move?
I mean, what did we see happen with Philip Lindsay?
Whoa.
Just to go back into the well here.
Man, deep dive. Philip Lindsay, James Robinson. He could be on the Austin Eckler path to success.
No, sorry. Try again, Mike.
Yeah, no, he's not that good. But he might continue to stay in San Francisco as the handcuff, which would probably be best for his value.
Hey, look,
Deebo Samuel
2.0. Wow. Wait,
man,
did you see that? Huh.
Yeah, that's great. Wow. He was worth a first for about 2 weeks while people were silly. Deebo Samuel dealing with pneumonia, also has a rib injury. It's probably expected to play. But let's talk about week 9. Derek Carr is expected back. This is going to elevate the offense. Are you excited about Chris Olave's possible year 3 breakout? Are you excited about I think this does the most for Alvin Kamara. Like the touchdown upside now comes there. He still had a safe floor. He was still a reasonably talented RB2, but now if the offense starts dropping 50 burgers again, Kamara's going to eat.
Yeah, I mean, check down King, Carr will help Kamara eat, who just got an extension, and I'm sure the Saints are looking to get as much usage out of him that they can. And what better weapons do you have? Shaheed's gone. So it's Olave or bust in the receiving game, and it's Kamara or bust in the short passing game or running game.
Oh, is this Bub Means slander? I won't stand for it.
The Pittsburgh great.
Yeah. Jonathan Brooks and TJ Hawkinson designated to return. I am a touch worried about Jonathan Brooks. So they traded Deontay Johnson today for a 5th round pick that then they gave up their 6th round pick and Johnson. I understand there's going to be comp picks in between, but like they could be back to back other than comp picks. So, I mean, are the Panthers just folding it in and saying, let's see what the young guys have and not going to risk getting Brooks hurt? Or what are you expecting from Brooks on his return?
Yeah, I mean, I fully expect them to continue to ride Chuba and just feather Brooks in. I feel like I've been saying it. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Mike. You've been on the pod this entire time with me. I feel like I've been saying the entire time, Brooks is not a play this year. The same thing with Trey Benson. Neither of them are plays for this season.
If I may offer, I thought that Benson could be a handcuff for this year.
Okay, sure.
And then I thought Brooks fantasy playoffs time, if they're like, man, let's just see what he has, they could start working him in, and he could be RB, like an RB2 or a flex play. Not, there were a lot of people drafting him being like, oh, he's going to be the guy. He's good. I like him. He's not going to be a fantasy football winner anymore.
Sure. We could get to week 14 and you're making the playoffs. Week 15, you're in the playoffs, and he could be a contributing flex play to your roster. Sure. Totally understand that. But also remember the draft capital that you assigned to him very well could have been going to a player all season that could have helped you to get a better seed in the playoffs, get you better record, be sitting in a little bit better position rather than just a guy that is going to be a flex for just the fantasy playoffs.
Lad McConkey. That's for Lad. DeAndre Hopkins traded the Chiefs from the Titans. I mean, if he works in the Juju, we talked about it on the Thursday show with David. I don't know if you listened to it, but if he works in the Juju areas of the field, he's going to the moon. If he does anything else, probably not ideal. And dude, this was weird. I actually want to talk to you about this. You're, resident O-lineman guy. I know we both love O-line play. Cam Robinson, starting left tackle, Cam Robinson traded to the Vikings from the Jaguars for a day 3 pick swap that could turn it. Is it turned into a 3rd round pick, if I remember right?
Yeah, I haven't looked fully into the details, so you probably know better than me, Mike.
Dude, what? You're not finding a starting left tackle with most of your 3rd and 4th round picks. Like, what are we doing? What are the Jacksonville Jaguars doing?
It's contract. It's contract. That's exactly what it is.
What is his contract? Let me look that up real quick.
Okay, well, resident O-line guy over here. We saw exactly what happened to this Minnesota Vikings offense when it comes down to it. When they don't have Darisaw, they're toast. Like, they are in so much trouble, and they desperately needed a tackle that could take over and be serviceable. Yeah. There aren't many serviceable left tackles out there that are available.
What's interesting, so yeah, very weird that a starting left tackle would get traded at this point in the season. Cam Robinson is a free agent after this year. So, conspiracy theory, Vikings called the Jags, said, yo, is Cam Robinson available? They walked down to Cam and said, you want to sign that extension? And he said, no. And they said, cool, see you next year. And they just sent him to the Vikings. But the Vikings need to sign him to an extension for this to make sense. Like maybe they move him to right tackle. Maybe they kick him in. You can't really kick him inside a guard. He's kind of built for tackle. So,
I mean, O'Neal is one of the best right tackles in the league as well.
Yeah.
He will be a backup tackle if he is on the Vikings next year.
The trade, did the Vikings think they're winning the Super Bowl?
I mean, they think that they have a chance. Look, for Vikings fans, maybe we'll get some slander for it. But if Vikings fans are to be believed, they think that they have a team that can win this division. That would be a win for this Vikings team if they can find a way to win the division, and that will energize the franchise moving into the JJ McCarthy years. That would be huge for the franchise moving forward.
Or they accidentally mess around and win 1 or 2 playoff games, and then they're like, why would we go with JJ McCarthy? We already have our guy, Sam Darnold.
Sorry, Mike.
I don't know.
I can come off that high horse.
There's just a lot of concerns there that, like, why are you pushing the chips in for maybe they have some unspoken thing with Robinson. They're going to sign him to extension. Maybe they're just planning on using him as a backup tackle. But a 1-year rental in a year where you are already on your backup quarterback doesn't make sense to me. But I'm sure my Vikings fan friends are going to yell at me for that.
All right, let's switch gears. Roll for initiative as we dive into this week's segment.
All right, it's getting cold outside. It's getting scary. It's getting spooky. I'm thinking about watching a scary movie. I don't like. Do you like scary movies? I don't like scary movies.
No, they are not my thing.
Yeah, there's something about being terrified in my own living room that's not for me. But we're going to talk about some of the spookiest fantasy people that we're worried about. And we're going to talk about some scary NFL teams. Not scary in like, oh, I don't want to play them, but scary in like, if you have fantasy players on these teams, use this as a tiebreaker. Don't start them. So what makes a player scary for you when we're talking about our spooky fantasy players?
Oh, man. Okay, so we start breaking down to evaluations. So where were they at the beginning of the year? Are people going to have take lock on them? Are they going to be players that you spent a 2nd round, 3rd round draft pick on in startups that all of a sudden you're just like, holy crap, this guy is not producing. This is not doing what I thought. So that's the first thing. First thing to me that makes a player scary is having those what were premium assets that have just absolutely just fallen off a cliff. We're talking Anthony Richardson. That's a big one right there, going at the turn in a lot of startups.
I was in a startup draft where Patrick Mahomes went 102. The current quarterback, what is he, like 23, 24?
I think he's back up in the teens after this last week.
Good for him. That's a good 102 pick now. That makes sense.
But yeah, we're talking about guys that have just absolutely fallen off a cliff. They've gone to the graveyard. Maybe they're sticking their hand up, trying to come out of the grave. Perfect time of year for that. Going to have a little skeleton, a little Frankenstein revitalization going on here. But that's the first thing that makes me scared off of a player. Mike, what's your first thing?
Yeah, I want to take this. So I think you're going to hit a lot of dynasty things. I want to hit a couple of redraft things. I'm worried about their usage and their efficiency this year. So I have a couple of players listed here that either their snap share has gone down or the snap share is still there, but like they're not earning targets. They're not getting carries. They're not earning the ball. They're not reaching a point where their coach and their quarterback want to give them the ball. That scares me because we can say, oh, there's injuries around them. They're going to get their opportunity. Oh, there's going to be these like opportunity and hopium for them to improve. But there's a couple of guys that, dude, I'm worried about them. They're still going to have good weeks. There's going to be opportunities to start them, but trying to figure out what week to start them because their usage is unpredictable that scares me because then they're going to go off on my bench. I'm going to look stupid. Then I'm going to start them and they're going to score 3 points. And that drives me up a wall.
Yep.
So
Understood.
you already said what. Let's lead it off with what's on everybody's mind. Anthony Richardson was a first-round startup draft over the summer this year. We were like, oh, he clearly has a starting job this year. He has the skill set to break up in fantasy. We are now entering week 9, and he is benched for Joe Flacco. Is this closer to Trey Lance? Is this closer to Justin Fields? Is this like a Josh Allen hiatus where he's just going to take a break and then all of a sudden come? Like, what are you expecting Anthony Richardson to turn into? And like give people an actionable, this is what you should do if you have Anthony Richardson, because I have him and I can't be unbiased in this.
Oh man, dude, this is just absolutely brutal. When you're watching Richardson out there, just watching him throw, lackadaisical with his feet, which was an issue coming out of college, still can just absolutely chuck the ball. I mean, we still see that, but he's missing short area throws. He's trying to rely on his athleticism, relatively clean pockets. He's kind of running into pressure, in my opinion. It's hurting every receiver unless you're Alec Pierce, who had basically zero value, who just catches those 2 passes a game for 80 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. All of the pre-draft concerns still exist. I will say benching him after this last week was strange to me. I don't know if they're sending a message because he subbed himself out, which I don't know if you've seen the play before he ran around 40 yards, stiff-armed a 310-pound man, and then like tried to break another tackle. I would be tired too, brother. I get it. That's reasonable.
But you're the franchise quarterback. Hand the ball off, catch your breath.
Yeah. Well, it was like 3rd and 18. Like he thought they were going to call a pass play, and they brought Joe Flacco in to hand the ball off once. I see the tools. It's not like when Zach Wilson was playing and you couldn't see it. Like there are still throws every once in a while. The deep ball is there. Every once in a while, the short and intermediate ball is there, and the rushing ability is clearly there. Dude, his mechanics just suck. Like they are so bad. And I was pretty high on him pre-draft. I'm pretty high on him in Dynasty. I would still probably pay over whatever market value. Like I'm willing to take the leap. But dude, market value is just tanked recently. Like if you have Anthony Richardson, there's a 50-50 shot that you're like, dude, just give me Bo Nix. Like give me a late first. These are real things that I've seen go down in Dynasty. They're just like, I'm done. I'm over it.
And there are plenty of managers out there. And if you have take lock, something that we already talked about a little bit over here, and you still think that Anthony Richardson is the best thing since sliced bread and that he is just going to magically figure it out. He's not going to get injured. He's going to be healthy all season. Okay. I mean, this is the time to buy if you want to buy him, because
let me
could it go lower? Yes, it most definitely can. It most definitely can. Don't get me wrong there. We saw what happened with Justin Fields, where he just fell off an absolute cliff and people didn't want him. People wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Brother. Okay. I just pulled up Fantasy Calc. Thank you to our friends at Fantasy Calc. Brother. It has gone from,
what is it, a high second right now?
I mean, they don't do the rounds, but
right, that's right.
125 first can get it done. Name a middle of the road running, like Brian Robinson, and a second gets it done.
Okay, good luck letting the manager that took him with the 101 through 103 in that draft. Good luck convincing that manager.
Darnell Mooney and Sam Darnold is currently an overpay. Let me see some recent trades that have gone down for Anthony Richardson. Dude, this is rough.
So Mike, we're both a little younger here, talking through this. I never personally got to watch Randall Cunningham, but I've watched plenty of tape of Randall Cunningham. And Richardson kind of reminds me of those Eagles days back in the late 80s
Yeah.
where Cunningham was over here just throwing for like 55% and running for like 6 to 800 yards.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I see the vision.
Sure.
Couple of trades that have gone down today. Anthony Richardson and Elijah Moore for Matthew Stafford and Xavier Legette. Anthony Richardson and a 25 third for Geno Smith. Like, Doc, it is rough in these streets. So if you have Anthony Richardson, what I want to say to you, you need to take a stand. You need to decide, is this a player that I believe in that will get another shot, that they're just benching to send a message and let him develop a little bit? Or are they done with the 22-year-old and have no desire to let him play again? If you're in the first boat, go buy him. If you're in the second boat, get him the hell off your rosters. I'm not going to make that decision for you. I think that he will get another shot, but I also thought Trey Lance would get another shot, and I'm stupid. So
let's also remember, though, with him being benched, if you're going to take that first stance, try and get somebody that's going to allow you to tread water. Whether that's a Jameis Winston, whether that's a Joe Flacco. Like, the prices on these guys, if you really are in playoff contention, is very cheap still. Like, these are guys that will be able to get you through the games. And in the case of Flacco, you have the Colts starter at that point. You know that you're going to have a starting quarterback. And really, what are we looking for in Superflex? We're looking for a quarterback at the Superflex position that has the opportunity to be able to put up a 20-plus point week.
Which for some reason Joe Flacco is, even though he's 100 years old and doesn't run. Let's shift gears. We could probably talk about Anthony Richardson for forever. And maybe we will. Maybe we'll just do a quick little spiel about it. I want to talk about Tank Dell. Now, listen, hindsight 2020. If you told me that a very small player coming off of a broken leg was going to have problems, I would have believed you. But we were still drafting him because it was an ambiguous wide receiver room. And now that ambiguous wide receiver room, Tank Dell is the last man standing. Nico Collins is on IR until I think estimated November 10th. Stephon Diggs just went out with an ACL tear. Maybe you believe in John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson, but Tank Dell should be the number one in this offense for the next couple of weeks. I'm just going to read a couple of game logs to you, and you tell me if you're worried about this. 69% of snaps, 1 catch for -3 yards. 68% of snaps, 4 catches for 38 yards. 72% of snaps against the Green Bay Packers, 4 targets, 0 receptions, 0 yards, 0 fantasy points. Last week, he kept your team afloat with a touchdown, but still, like 4 for 35, that's not a good line. He's not being efficient with his targets. He's not being targeted often on his routes. The butt buddy connection that he had with CJ Stroud seems to be not there anymore. Like, what are your concerns? Like, do you think that Tank Dell is going to turn it back around? And great question, start Tank or Olave this week, and why?
Olave, because Carr is supposed to be back. Okay, sure. Let me rephrase that. Olave, if Carr is back. If Carr is not back, I'm just going to wing it and just say, Hail Mary, full of grace. Here we go. Tank Dell.
Okay, I support that. Do you think that Tank's going to turn it around now that everyone around him is a zombie in the Halloween spirit? Or do you think that Tank is going to be an unpredictable wide receiver moving forward?
Nope. Unpredictable wide receiver moving forward. Does not have the archetype to be able to withstand that many attempts, that many tackles, everything that you think about him. Look, I get it. The NFL has proved that smaller wide receivers can stay healthy, but how have they stayed healthy? It's been in more of these zigzag interior routes, get out of bounds, be able to get down, not asking them to bulldoze through anybody, not asking them to try and make a bunch of plays across the middle. If I remember correctly, isn't that what got Tank hurt last year? Trying to go across the middle.
No, it wasn't going across the middle. They brought him on the goal line to block a defensive end.
There we go.
Somebody rolled up on him and his leg broke. But Tank Dell spooks me from redraft. I think if you can find the guy that believes in him, like go trade him for a more proven commodity with it's an easy story to sell. Like Nico's out, Diggs is out. This is CJ Stroud's best friend. Send him the video where he said if he could pick any 11 players, he said he was picking Tank Dell. But you're never going to know when to start him. It's going to be a pain in the butt. Moving on.
Whoa, before we move on, Mike.
Okay, yeah.
CJ Stroud. Talk about a spooky player right there.
Is he one of your players?
Dude, he is terrifying.
Well,
absolutely
it's all
terrifying. For Dynasty, it's run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Play defense, run the ball some more, play some more defense, do a little bit on special teams, and then run the ball some more. Like,
yeah,
we saw what happened. I mean, what was it? CJ Stroud for less than 100 yards?
Yeah, he had 86 yards against Green Bay. That was good. That was really nice.
Without his top target in Nico Collins, without his secondary target in Diggs. Yep. So you're out to...
Well, no, that was Green Bay with Diggs.
Well, right. So that's what I'm saying. Like without Diggs now, you combine all of that together. Yep. You have an offensive line that hasn't been playing as well as it did last year. Looks like everybody regressed on that line from last year. You have Joe Mixon, who has shown that he can handle 20 plus carries a game.
Yep.
Why are we going to put our franchise quarterback back there to absolutely get pummeled?
Well, here's the thing. You had to spend a top 5 startup pick to go get CJ Stroud, who is a pocket passer.
Yep.
On a low volume passing offense.
Yep. All because he has great weapons. He has great weapons, though, Mike.
Oh, I heard he was going to throw for 5,000 yards. Didn't you?
Yeah.
Hear?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's going to break all of Mahomes' records and just set the world on fire. He is currently the quarterback 15. So, not bad. Usable. That's because he hasn't had his bye week and he's been healthy. But points per game is much worse. Listen, if you... This is actually a very good discussion for dynasty leagues. When we talk about some of the archetypes for players that were taking the first round of our startup drafts, like Anthony Richardson is all the way on one extreme. You're talking like rushing quarterback, could break fantasy wide open. We haven't seen it yet. You're assuming all of this risk, and like the floor can completely fall out and you can have a dead asset. All the way on the other side are your Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud types, where it's like, yes, maybe they have a couple of years where they break fantasy open because they throw for 5,000 yards. But most seasons, they're going to be a middle-of-the-road quarterback too, but you know they have a starting job forever. So if you're trying to win championships, those can still be valuable players, but you need to have a couple of the high-variance guys sprinkled in, and that's how you end up with a Lamar Jackson. That's how you end up with a Josh Allen. That's how you end up with some of those guys that Jalen Hurts, like more variance, but they end up being high-level producers for your dynasty teams in the short term. They just don't age as well, which is a big concern. I know I just word vomited there. You want to talk about running backs?
Sure. Love me some running backs.
Listen, I love running backs too. And I really liked Brian Robinson. I remember I was co-managing a dynasty league with my dad. The league folded because it was a 16-team league and got gross very quickly. But we were literally like, let's just take the Alabama running back because the Alabama running back's normally good. And it was the Brian Robinson year. And Brian Robinson has this like gross taste in his mouth. Nobody wants him, but like quietly having a very good season. Spooky though. Under 40% of snaps in his last 3 games played. I know he's dealing with injury. Austin Eckler, the washed allegations were early. He's still a starting caliber running back. For some reason, they're giving Jeremy McNichol touches. That confounds me. So Brian Robinson's going to be a touchdown-dependent RB1, RB2, like on the fringe there. Are you worried about him for redraft? And like Dynasty, you're never going to get enough value for one of these players. So like I'm holding him or buying him because people just hate him for some reason, which is funny to me.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a concern. we're talking a guy that gets under 10% target share on his team. We have Austin Eckler, who's getting the bulk of the receiving work. We have a college-style offense, which means that it's going to be quick reads for the quarterback. We're getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands. And then when the play breaks down, you're letting the quarterback run around to be able to chuck it downfield or just take off with his legs. He's not looking to dump it off. And when they're getting in the end zone or in the red zone, they're getting into the end zone, and they're also doing it not by running the ball.
Yeah. Or if they are running the ball, it's Jaden Daniels because he's electric, and I love him. So worried about him.
Go watch the Jaden Daniels film study.
Yeah. Hey, listen, if people watch that, they were probably in on him. I'd like to think I got that one right, hopefully. But yes, Brian Robinson just spooks me out. I'm not saying that you're going to be able to get any sort of value for him. I'm not saying like trade him and get him off your rosters. I'm just saying if you are worried about starting him, like be worried. Go with your other option. Cool. All right. Moving on. I want to read to you 2 different players' stats. And I want you to tell me which one is Michael Pittman and which one is Josh Downs. Keep in mind, Josh Downs has played 2 less games. So one of these players has 53 targets for 352 yards and 2 touchdowns. One of these players has 47 targets for 351 yards and 3 touchdowns. Does it matter which one is which? Because he's played 2 less games. I think Josh Downs is the target earner, point scorer in this offense, and Michael Pittman is just eye candy. He's done well a couple of times, but dude, the value has got to be tanking.
Dude, the value's been tanked. The value's been tanked the last 4 weeks.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure if you go to any trade calculator and you look at the last like maybe 5-6 weeks, he's been below wide receiver 24 outside of wide receiver 2.
I will check our friends over at Fantasy Calc. He is the wide receiver 40 there right now and has tanked since September 12th.
Okay. So we're month and a half.
Dude, he just doesn't score enough points for the value. Like, people were very excited about him. They thought Anthony Richardson was going to unlock this offense. And don't get me wrong, there were some flashes. But Josh Downs looks like the better player. Every time Josh Downs is targeted, he's making an exceptional catch or he's making some crazy after the catch, and he's dealing with an ankle injury. I know Michael Pittman, he slept wrong and now his back hurts, so I get it. Like, we're all there. We're getting older. But straight up, I would rather have Josh Downs than Michael Pittman. Bye.
I mean, he's getting a higher target share. Yep. He's getting a higher red zone target share.
Yep.
Like, yeah. I mean,
bigger plays, more touchdowns. He has a carry for some reason. So that's neat.
He's athletic. Come on, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get your best player the ball, don't get Michael Pittman the ball. So,
but yeah.
With that, what are you doing with Michael Pittman in your redraft leagues? Are you trying to trade him, or are you just finding like the Cedric Tillman off of waivers and moving on with him? Like, what's your plan there?
Downs looks like the player that Flacco feels comfortable with, which historically fits the archetype of what Flacco feels comfortable with.
The guy that can separate and catch the ball?
The guy that can separate, and the tight end. Those are the archetypes that Flacco has liked over the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. And Indy doesn't have a tight end that's worth anything.
Jelani Woods season.
Godspeed if that's what we're hoping and praying on.
Pour some out.
Oh, man. That prime landing spot for Brock Bowers right there in Indianapolis. Okay. Well, we're not going to dwell on the pastor on this show right now.
They took Leatu Latu, which was a great pick.
Oh, yeah.
We love edge rushers.
Oh, yeah. We love defensive linemen, you know?
Yeah. This is the fantasy football show that loves lineman play. So,
but no, this offense, outside of Pittman and Downs, you don't want anybody else in the receiving core.
Mm-mm.
You don't want any other wide receiver. You don't want the tight end. Look, I get it. Alec Pierce has been a good story.
Yeah.
You want to talk about somebody that is literally the definition of boom or bust.
Oh, yeah.
It is Alec Pierce.
Oh, man. My guy has 16 catches, but the most receiving yards in the offense.
I know. That's what I'm saying, Mike. Like, this is what you're dealing with when you try and start. What week are you going to feel comfortable starting Alec Pierce? It is literally a desperation play that you are starting in.
I would throw him in as my flex if I was, if Anthony Richardson is playing, throw him in there, ride the lightning, baby. But yeah, no, Alec Pierce is gross. Michael Pittman, dude, he's spooky. I think we've hit that to death. Let's talk about the Bears wide receivers. All three of them, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. Redraft leagues, they should all be valued almost identical. Because I tell you what, every week, fucking flip a 3-sided coin if you have one. I don't know how that works, but it's just going to come up, and one of them's going to be good, one of them's going to be average, one of them's going to stink. You flip it the next week, and one's going to be good, one's going to be average, one's going to stink. And then sometimes Caleb has a bad game, and then all of them stink. Like, we were drafting all of these guys in the top 40 of wide receivers. We were expecting big things out of them. I tried to caution people. I was like, guys, this isn't going to work out. It's a rookie quarterback with a bad offensive coordinator. We should be concerned. But no, the talent's there. The talent's there. Dynasty leagues, I want to talk to you real quick. Will you be buying any of the Bears wide receivers? And are there any, I don't think Rome Odunze's value has dipped at all because people were buying him expecting a 2025 breakout. Is DJ Moore a buy for you? Is Keenan Allen like a crusty old vet you want to throw to get flexes? Like, what are you doing with the Bears wide receivers right
now? Yeah, I mean, you can pull it up while I'm gallivanting over here for Odunze to see if his value has dropped with our friends over at Fantasy Calc.
We love Fantasy
Calc. We love him. Yeah. DJ Moore. No, I am not trying to go get DJ Moore because people still value DJ Moore as a top 10 wide receiver because they see the booms, they see the potential, they see Caleb, the shiny new toy back there. Odunze really hasn't dipped much in value based off of Mike shaking his head over here.
Straight line.
Okay, fantastic. So he's maintained value. Look at that. So that 105, 106 that you spend on him, man, it would just make so much sense, Mike, to be able to get that pick back, right?
He's on the JSN success train, which we'll talk about him next, actually. But
the JSN success train, I think that's a train that ran out of wood to burn to keep it moving about 4 months ago.
Got to know the right time to get off the train.
Well, yes. So on that, Keenan Allen, that is the wide receiver that I want in this offense as an old crusty. All right.
Okay.
Let's spit out some numbers here. He's only played 4 games. All right. Right. Five games.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I'll look it up real quick.
All right.
I'll pull up the stats. I'll be the stats guy today.
But we're looking at a target share that is above 20% when he's playing.
5 games.
5 games. Okay. Cool. So we're talking about a guy that has an above 20% target share. We're talking about a guy that has an above 25% red zone target share. So when he's getting the targets, it's in the red zone, which makes them high value targets. And we're talking about a guy that averages about 6 targets a game. So if you're going to tell me that every other game he's going to score a touchdown and he's going to get 6 targets, of which typically that's going to lead to 4 or 5 catches. I mean, flex play worthy for what can you get Keenan Allen for right now? 2/3?
Dude, talking to some of the managers, they still think you can, pry a second from you. But yeah, 2/3, which we talked about the value of draft picks. Sure. I would rather play a late second than 2/3, but I think you could probably get him for 1/3.
I think you could probably get him for a 1/3 and a 1/4, honestly.
Yeah.
and I'm fine. I'm fine parting with that.
You want to play a quick game?
All right, let's go, Mike.
Between
Dash my hopes and dreams.
Between the three wide receivers, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore, who has the most top 12 wide receiver weeks?
DJ?
It's a trick question. They all have one.
Okay.
So, dude, the offense Shane Waldron is a terrorist against fantasy points. He is the new Arthur Smith. He has Rome Odunze running sacrifice routes. You have Keenan Allen just literally running hooks and drags. You have DJ Moore. It's either screen or post. Like, there's no creativity in this offense. There's no excitement. There's no flair. And when there is flair, it's fucking speed option to DeAndre Swift at the goal line or a handoff to your backup offensive lineman.
Yeah, I mean,
Doug Kramer.
When the offensive line sucks and they can't block a ghost out there on the field, what do you have to do? You have to get the ball out of your hands relatively quickly.
You ever try to block a ghost? They can go right through you. That's hard.
Yeah, I mean, that's what every defender does to the Bears' offensive line.
They just go right through them.
Right through them. Yeah, so when you take and you move a draft pick to be able to go get Keenan Allen,
mm-hmm.
You take a first-round premium draft pick to go get Rome Odunze. You have DJ Moore coming off of one of his best statistical seasons of his career, and you put all of that together with a number one overall quarterback. You definitely don't expect this team to be fifth last. All right? So we are very close to the bottom in passing yards per game. That is brutal. I was looking it up before the show here, Mike. 184 yards per game passing. That is not good and
That's
not
tough.
what you want out of your offense.
That's tough. Oh, man. What I will offer is that Shane Waldron stinks. We probably overpaid for all of these receivers in redraft. We were probably overvaluing them in Dynasty if you were planning for 2024. If you're planning for 2025, I think DJ Moore is going to be great. I think Rome Odunze is going to be great. Keenan Allen's an unrestricted free agent after this year. He can go somewhere else in his year 75 season. Like, there are ways for this offense to improve and for you to see a year two bump. But for 2024, we probably overpaid. I think I'm out on all of them. Like, I think I would just trade them away if I can find somebody that still believes in them. But let's talk about one more player. Let's talk about what teams make us feel spooky. And then we'll close it out. So Jackson Smith-Njigba. We were all hoping for this year two breakout. And I think it was Dynasty Sultan, friend of the podcast. We really love you, man. But, like, dude, yards per target, almost the same. Yards per catch, almost the same. A-dot, almost the same. Target share, almost the same. We were expecting this big break. We were like, Tyler Lockett's washed. This is finally the year. Maybe JSN's just fancy Tyler Lockett or fancy Tyler Boyd. Like, maybe he's a fine NFL wide receiver that can give a team what they need as their third option and, like, fill in as the second option in case of injury. But how are you valuing JSN in Dynasty? And do you think, well, I'll check if his value is taking a hit, but I think it's taking a hit.
Yeah, he is a stay away option for me. Pretty clearly. I'm pretty sure I was saying that all off season. If I remember correctly here, Mike, just somebody that I just don't want to be involved with. It's pretty hard to see a guy go with first round draft capital, see a guy be getting, give or take, about 8 targets a game, which is pretty good by most NFL standards for a wide receiver 2 on the team. But let's also remember that that's propped up by week 2 against New England when he had 16, and then week 4 against Detroit when he had 12, which just so coincidentally had a 2 and a 3 burger around that 16 target game. So love that. Gives you tons of confidence moving forward.
Yeah. Dude, JSN's dynasty value, according to Fantasy Calc, straight line. Dude, he's on the Roma Dunse path to success. It's there's something about these wide receivers that we shove them into a crowded room and we're just like, you have a blank check, take as long as you need. But if we were going to see signs of life from JSN, I feel like we would have seen him by now.
Yep,
Like,
I'm with you.
In Cedric Tillman's 2 games where he's been useful, he's scored more points than JSN has scored in any 2-week span in his entire career. What is happening that he is unable to earn targets on a consistent basis, do something with those targets on a consistent basis? Like, I think he's perpetually going to be a flex option, which is great, but probably not worth what you were spending on him in your dynasty leagues. And you can go trade him for Lad McConkey if you still can. I don't know if you can after this last week. I'd rather have like Lad and anything on top, but I'm also a noted Lad truther.
Let's also remember the running backs in this offense get a lot of targets. Charbonnet is a target machine out of the backfield. Yep. Ken Walker gets his targets out of the backfield. Whoa.
I was told Ken Walker can't catch when he was coming out of Michigan State.
That's because no Michigan State running back ever caught.
I was told he physically didn't have hands. But yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Noah Fant, 10% target share.
Yeah, more like Noah Fart. All right. JSN, Spooky, we're worried about him. So the players we're concerned about, Tank Dell, Brian Robinson, Michael Pittman, all of the Bears wide receivers at JSN. You can also throw Anthony Richardson in there. We talked about him a little bit. Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud, a couple of guys that they're very safe, but their fantasy upside's not necessarily there in the short term, and it's going to take a little bit to get it in the long term. We got 15 minutes. Let's talk about what teams in the NFL scare you when you're talking about it from a fantasy football perspective.
Yeah, so we're going to go to the absolute bottom of the barrel, the easiest team to be able to pick out as being absolutely terrifying from a fantasy perspective, and it's going to be the Patriots passing. Look, Drake May, I get it. There is hype around the rookie.
Love him.
Pretty sure he has a concussion right now.
He's going to play for it.
Well, we'll see. He's country strong. So, that North Carolina.
Fun fact.
North Carolina's.
Olivia's stepdad knows his family.
There you go.
Has pictures with Luke and Drake and when they were little kids. Very funny. Mason Rudolph was there.
Ah, lovely.
But yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
No player in this offense has above a 20% target share. That's pretty spooky to me. Hunter Henry is leading this team in target share with 19.5%. for only 5.6 targets a game.
5.6 targets a game is more than Dalton Kincaid and Kyle Pitts. Just saying.
Oh, okay. All right. We're just gonna have to go dirty like that, Mike. All right.
That's gross.
But it's terrifying. You look at the offense, and it's very clear Gerard Mayo is trying to not get blown out of games.
Yep.
And they're running the ball. They're trying to play ball control. They're trying to play some semblance of defense. The offensive line is very, very middle of the road at best. So you pair that with a team that probably has a bunch of wide receiver 3 and 4s on most playoff caliber teams.
Whoa. I heard Jalen Polk was going to the moon.
Hey, I love me some Pop Douglas. Don't get me wrong. I think
me too, actually.
He is a dog out there.
I also big miss on Javon Baker by me. I just thought he would get snaps at some point. My bad.
Who said something about that, Mike?
None of your business. Let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. So, no, we bring up the Patriots. If you're using a tiebreaker to figure out, should I start Pop Douglas or should I start this other receiver? If the other receiver's in a good matchup, if they're in a more conducive environment to fantasy points, maybe just don't start the Pats guys until further notice. Fair?
Very fair.
Because otherwise you're just going to crap on me for Javon Baker for 10 minutes. Let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. Calvin Ridley, completely useless. Now he is at a 21% snap share or target share. And it's going to keep going up without Hopkins. Dude, Ridley looked like their only receiver on Sunday.
Yeah, it was bad.
And this is to say, I know that we were just like, use this as a tiebreaker. Dude, Ridley should be plugged into and started in most lineups until the targets go away. Because it looks like he is the only human being that can catch the football in the offense. Like, I like Chico Okonkwo, Nick Westbrook. Is a great meme. Tony Pollard keeps getting target share. Tyjae Spears, when he returns, is going to get a couple of passes. But like Calvin Ridley is clearly the only guy that they trust. And if he's going to keep getting 14 to 15 targets a game, yeah, it might only turn into 7 catches. That's 7 fantasy points of PPR, brother.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, what is 15 over 38? Let's do some quick math here on the show. We're talking almost a 40% target share this past week.
Yeah, that's not real. That should not be real.
That shouldn't be a thing in the NFL. And if it is, a defense 100% should key on that receiver and just say, hey, we're going to triple cover you until the other team shows us that they can either run the football or actually pass the football to somebody else.
Patriots this week. Smash start.
Oh, boy.
Smash start. Chargers, Vikings, Texans, a couple of like, if he keeps around the targets the way he's going to, you're going to plug him into your lineups. And then Commanders, Jags, like, dude, Calvin Ridley may be one of those league winners that it's not a league winner because you found him on waivers. It's a league winner because you traded for him after the Hopkins trade. The other guy's like, oh, you fool. And then you're like, oh, by the way, he's getting 12 targets a game.
Lovely. Fantastic. All of those weeks that you were just like, I just want Ridley off my team. Am I going to drop him this week? Do I really need him? You know, that work redraft league, Mike, where you're sitting here and you're like, man, I have a Dynasty podcast. Like, I know ball. I can talk football. I know things. And you walk in like, oh, yeah, Calvin Ridley, like the shiny new toy in this offense. They're going to sling the ball around. Ah, yes. Okay. That works out so great for the first 7 weeks. Yeah, had that one pop week, you know, that one wide receiver, top 10 wide receiver week. The rest has been absolutely putrid. So hopefully you didn't start him those other weeks. But here we are. We're moving forward.
Brother.
Calvin Ridley is the dog that you want to put the rabbit in front of and just say run.
Week 6, he had 8 targets and 0 catches. Disgusting, despicable. The whole Titans offense is just an avoid for me. It's Ridley, it's Pollard, it's no one else.
Yes.
Carolina Panthers. I think there's some useful things we can talk about with them because I think you have different feelings than me, and I want to hear your thoughts. They're third last in the league in passing volume because Bryce Young is certified cheeks. Deontay Johnson had almost a 27% target share. He got traded for a warm handshake. I'll ask you this question because I already have my thoughts and I wrote my waiver wire article over at Last Word on Sports. Go check that out. Deontay Johnson, 26.5% target share. Now, who do you trust?
Xavier Legette, followed by Jatavion Sanders.
Interesting.
Who do you trust, Mike?
Xavier Legette, followed by Jalen Coker.
Oh.
Followed by Jatavion Sanders after the bye week. So I was looking at this. Legette, very clearly he's going, like, Canales likes to feature one wide receiver. If I'm betting on somebody, it's going to be Legette. Big, fast, strong. His breaks look way better than they did at the college level. I think he's leveled up probably in the second half of his senior year into his pro career. Big miss by me, my bad. But we still drafted him at the value that he was going at. He was going in the mid-second. So, like, yeah, take a first-round wide receiver there. Now, Johnson's gone. They want to feature somebody. He's the clear bet. Coker could move into that Adam Thielen role. I think they think that he's dust. There's rumor that he could get traded. Like, there's a lot of opportunities for Coker to work in there. The history of UDFAs being useful, very low. The history of the Panthers flying from behind and needing to sling the ball, very useful. So if I'm bye weeks, injuries, I'm struggling and trying to find a human being with a pulse to put in my flex, Coker is a name to watch. After the bye week, The Panthers get two of the best matchups for tight ends back to back. I think it's the Chiefs and the Saints, if I remember correctly.
Chiefs, Tampa Bay, Philly, then Dallas.
So Chiefs and Tampa are two of the best ones, and then I think a couple of bad weeks in there, and then a couple of good ones. There's room for Jatavion to have a couple of spike weeks and really be useful. So I'm not plugging him in blindly. Like if again, injuries, bye weeks, whatever, or play the matchup game. You're messing around. Your bench is composed of Tyler Conklin, Hunter Henry, and Jatavion Sanders. After the rookie bye bump, I think Sanders is going to have a couple of useful weeks in a row, followed by some sadness, followed by a couple of useful weeks in a row. Could be very wrong, but there's room. And that's my message. There's room in this offense for somebody to be useful. My priority, Leggett, Coker, Sanders, other than the good tight end matchups. Cool.
Yeah, it's fair.
All right, let's close it out with America's favorite team, the Cleveland Browns. Jameis Winston made the Browns fun again. David Njoku, 20% target share in his games played. Judy, the next highest. Is this including Cedric Tillman in his games played?
No. So, yeah, that's the set from before this week. So it was a small enough sample size on Tillman that I didn't pull him. But
hear me out.
Look,
Cedric Tillman.
I get it, Mike. I remember watching Tillman in college. I remember watching him at Tennessee, saying that he was clearly the better wide receiver than Jalen Hyatt.
And I was wrong.
I know we've mentioned this multiple times throughout the time that we've had this pod.
The week before he was the wide receiver 10, we both said you can cut him. It's not useful anymore. So, whoops.
You win some, you lose some. This Browns offense is looking for anybody to give them a spark right now. Apparently the locker room split on Winston. The fan base apparently the fan base loves him.
Yeah,
so,
they should.
Yeah. I don't know. DTR with his messed up finger. You want to see some more DTR? I remember watching him at UCLA, just running around, having fun.
Oh, man. Speaking of terrible takes, Eric, thanks for coming back. We miss you. We hope your music career is going well. I don't want to see DTR. Jameis Winston makes his team more fun. There's not a good chance, but there's a chance they could go on a little bit of a run here and be competitive. They could be feisty. They could be scrappy. All of the things that we used to describe wide receivers of a certain melanin level. But
they could play their way out of a top 3 pick,
which would be bad. So yeah, maybe put DTR in there so you can go get Cam Ward. But Jameis is a better passer. Jameis is more fun. I think order of targets here. David Njoku becomes a must start.
Yep.
Depending on if you have Brock Bowers, obviously not. But I think outside of him, I'm willing to entertain David Njoku in the top 5.
Dude, I'd start Njoku in a flex if I have Bowers as well.
Yeah, send it. I think Cedric Tillman has eaten Jerry Jeudy's lunch, which makes me happy.
Especially since they just paid Judy a bunch of money.
God, the Browns are going to Browns. And otherwise, do you want to talk about the Nick Chubb experiment?
I mean, Chubb's back. He's gonna be the goal line back. He's playing.
Are they ever going to be at the goal line? Winston's either going to throw a touchdown or a pick by the time they get there.
No, I mean, crazier things have happened, Mike. His snap share is working its way back up. Jerome Ford will get healthy again at some point. Obviously, dealing with a hamstring injury is not great, but I fully expect when Ford is back healthy for this to 100% be a time split. So, yeah, I mean, Foreman was healthy. Obviously, They didn't really give him many snaps in the backfield, period. Nick Chubb is beloved by this fan base. He is beloved by the city. The Browns have already come out and said that they are going to do what they can to sign him to an extension. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, keeps the fan base happy.
Yeah. It would be great to have him stick around. it would also be great if we had the listeners stick around. So be sure to like, subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're on the road to 200 on Spotify. We just appreciate the support. So listen, I'm not afraid to say it. I love the stars. Every time you guys give us 5 stars, it makes me happy. Every time you guys click thumbs up, makes me happy. But
every time we get a 5-star review, I'm like, oh man, I should go buy myself like coffee or something. You know, we're on our way, Mike. You know, just that morning, that morning cup to get you going.
Yeah. Head over to BetMGM, use code LWS250 for a welcome bonus. Bet responsibly. You need to be 21 or over. Call 1-800-GAMBLER if you have any problems. And also call 1-800-GAMBLER if you believe in Jerry Jeudy. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Football RPG Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at FFRPGPod and at FFMikeCash with a K. Don't let the goblins get you. See you next week.